Sleep is so sacred to me now.
You need it. Your brain needs it. Your emotional health needs it.
My face needs it. Like when I have a bad night's rest, I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm haggard. On today's episode, we have Sally Obermeder. Sally is the co-founder of SWIISH, a wellness brand that launched in 2012. She's a best-selling author with her book Green Smoothies, which still sits at #1 of its category, a TV presenter, an ex-Pilates teacher, and a mother of 2. Sally has a crazy story. The day before her daughter was born, she was told she has stage 3 breast cancer. Her story hits home for me, and I am in awe of her strength and resilience. On this episode, we dive deep into how she felt and how she got through this, how she created Swish and the ethos behind the brand, and so much more. I love this conversation with Sally, and I know you will too. Welcome back to another episode of Self-Dom Beautiful Humans, a safe place to learn and get inspired to live your healthiest and most fulfilling life. On today's episode, I have Sally Obermeder. I feel so lucky to have her on the mic. I saw her speak at a Body By Berner event probably 3 months ago now, and I was just in awe of this woman. She has one heck of a story, which led her to really create a wellness brand that resonates truly to who she is and her ethos. So I'm really excited to dive deep into this episode with her. So welcome, Sally, to
Thank
Self-Dom.
you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, darling.
I feel like it's a long time coming.
Long time coming. I reckon when we met at that event with Berna, I was just so drawn to you, which I'm sure people must say to you all the time. Like, you have such a beautiful energy, so I'm honored to be here.
Oh, you're the best. So I wanted to start. I always like asking my guest what wellness means to them. How did they get into it?
Wellness for me is it's like the cornerstone of everything, because I honestly believe when you feel well, like physically, mentally, emotionally, it changes the course of your life. You're able to make different decisions. You come at everything from a different point of view. So whether that is in terms of relationships, work, anything, if you feel well, you're stronger. You show up differently every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're well, it really transcends into everything in your life.
Everything. It changes everything. When you feel like shit, when you're dragging your body through mud, when you feel yuck, you're just barely surviving, right? You're just getting through the day. You just like, you're dragging your body. You're just like, ugh. But when you feel good, you're like, how do I push my boundaries? What do I want to achieve? You start to, I think, really think like, I'm not here necessarily for a long time. So I want to make my time here worthwhile. What is it that I want? And it varies from person to person. That's the thing I always say. Like, we have this sort of like quasi motto that says, I don't care about you. But what that means is, I don't care if you want to do rock climbing and you want to do knitting and you want to go do something different. What everybody truly wants to achieve in this world is different. Our job is just to make sure that you feel amazing so that you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned in the intro, you have one heck of a story, which sounds like changed the trajectory of your life in a really positive way in the end. Would you mind opening up to the audience who don't know?
Yeah. So I basically was working in television. I had this cool job that I'd wanted to have my whole life, which was to be an entertainment reporter. So my job was to travel the world and interview celebrities.
A dream job.
It was my dream job. It was my dream job. I would do, Beyonce interviews and Taylor Swift, and I'd go on movie sets.
Wait,
and
you've met Beyonce?
Yeah.
What? And Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Oh my God, your little daughters must be
Yeah.
like, you're the coolest
Yeah.
mum ever.
They didn't care about anything until they heard Taylor Swift. And they're like, well, hang on, back up a second. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much like the list of celebrity interviews I've done is in the hundreds. I've done all of them, and it was a really happy, joyous time in my life. I really was everything was amazing. And Marcus and I had been trying to have a baby for a long time. Finally, I fell pregnant, had a dream pregnancy. Everything was amazing. Then the day before I gave birth, I found out that I had stage 3 breast cancer. and the prognosis was really bad. They basically made me give birth the next day, and then I started within the week treatment.
I
And
feel so like emotional and heavy, and I've heard this story from you, and
it's
it kind of hits you every time you say it. Like I'm welling up in my eyes.
it's hard
Um,
to
it's hard
it's
to comprehend,
hard to
really.
comprehend. It really is hard to comprehend, and it's hard because I think it's the combination of these two things, which is new life and death together.
Mm.
And it's not supposed to be like that. And so it's very hard, obviously, well, A, to have the baby, but also to have them say to me, you probably won't live to see her turn one,
So they actually like would
Yeah, the
say that to you.
prognosis was bad,
Wow.
because it was very aggressive and advanced. And I yeah, I did. It was a. I don't know what to really say about it except that it was a horrific time. It was horrific. But you put one foot in front of the other every day. I did all the treatment. I did all the bits and pieces and the chemo for a year and radiation and multiple surgeries. And I don't even really know how. I feel like, by the grace of the universe, really, that I get to be here. And that's, I guess, what changed the course of my life. About 6 months into my treatment, I was still quite sick. I rang my sister and I was like, if I survive, then let's do something together where we help people feel amazing, where we help them feel good, where we look after their health. And I mean, I didn't know what it was. I have no idea. And she was like, I think you're high on medication still.
She's had the green whistle.
She's like, I don't know why are you calling? Like, just focus on getting better. But it was something, sometimes I think these things come to you that I don't know where they came from. It's not sort of from my head. It really truly was from my heart. And when I'd finished my treatment about a year and a bit later, I went back to her and I was like, okay, I'm back. I want to do this thing. And that's where Swish was born from.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I wanted to touch back to your story because so many things came into my mind. How did you see light at the end of the tunnel? What were some of the ways when you're in your darkest of days that you could get through it? Because you obviously had this human spirit. Where did you find that in yourself?
I had such the urge to live is so strong, I think. But there are definitely, like, that period was a roller coaster. And I am always very truthful that there were days that were dark. There were days that the chemo treatment in particular, because of the kind of cancer I had, the chemo I had was very brutal. It was like what they call old school chemo. And my body was torn apart. I mean, yes, I lost my hair and all my nails fell off. I had a mouthful of ulcers.
Yeah. My
Y-
mum's told me that the ulcers is like
It's
excruciating.
excruciating. You can't drink anything, you can't eat, you've lost your sense of taste. I would, you've got this feeling in your mouth that tastes like, I don't know, I imagine it to be like petrol or I don't know. So you're constantly trying to get rid of this taste. I would have these shots to help my bones, and it would feel like my bones are being ripped apart. Like your body is at war. Your body is literally at war, and there's no relief. And I think there were definitely moments. I remember, one day in particular, I must have been maybe 4 months into my chemo, and I was in the shower and I was broken. I was like beyond crying. I think I might have been screaming. And Marcus came in and he was holding Annabelle and he was like, oh my God. And I was like, it's too much. It's actually too much. And I think the only thing that I was able to do was just not look too far ahead. Just can I get through this day? And if I get through this day, then tomorrow I'll find the strength for another one, just bite size, really small. And I think too, like the other thing that I really in that window is it's like you come back to the smallest things, like really small things, like what does an orange taste like? And it tastes like which when you're well, you don't really think of it, right? You'll get an orange, you'll eat it and you move on. But when you're sick, you like these small little moments of joy, like your friends will pop in and see you and you'll be crying, but then you're laughing, but then you're crying, but then you're laughing. And then in that moment, you've got a minute to be like, I feel so fucking blessed to have these friends, like, and so it's like in a way, I think being sick the gift it gives you is that a lot of the noise of life, like how's my career going, and I want a new car, and what about that wardrobe, and the kind of the hustle and the material, which like I get, and I like that, and I have a lot of ambition, but a lot of that gets stripped away because you don't know how many days you have. So it's all about the people you love and having that memories, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a meditation where you actually picture your death and you picture the eulogy. And you actually think about what in your life truly mattered, and it feels like you saw that, you felt that, you felt close to it, and now as a person, the way you see the world through your eyes,
Different.
it's different, and
Yeah.
it's a silver lining to it all.
100%. It's like I wouldn't wish what I went through on anyone, but I don't take the experience back.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah, I see that with my mum.
Do you?
Yeah, I see it with my mum when she's with her friends, when she's with our family. Her joy and her happiness
Yeah.
radiates.
Yeah.
She's so present. And, it's hard because partly she shouldn't eat sugar and she shouldn't do this. And then the other half, she's like, I just want to live and I just want to enjoy life.
Yes, yeah. And that's the thing. Like I think you realize what's important. You realize what's important, and it helps you then make decisions. So for me it was like, what do I want to do? What's important to me?
And this obviously led you to create Swish.
Yeah. It was such an organic, even though I wanted to do this thing, I didn't know. It wasn't like I set out with a clear business plan. I mean, far from it. What happened was at the end of my treatment, when I was sort of better, and technically finished, I was so sick. I'd had a year and a half of surgeries and medication and treatment. My skin was gray. I'd put on 30 kilos from the treatment. I was so lethargic. I was well, but can I tell you, I was so unwell. But I had finished. There was no more doctors. They were like, okay, you're done now. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm on my own here. And this is going back when no one had ever heard of a green smoothie. So there was no green smoothies. You couldn't buy kale. Which is weird, right?
So weird to me.
It's weird, right?
I feel like my whole life is green smoothies.
So this is what happened. I started to make green smoothies. I was having them and I was obsessed with them. And so I said to Maha, you have them, have this. And the shift and the difference that you feel when you're having heaps of vegetables. And then people would say to us, what are you drinking? What's this green sludge? And we would write down the recipe on little Post-it notes. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do this as a book. There was no such thing. And every book publisher in the country said, no, we won't do this book. No one's ever heard of a green smoothie. Why are you putting spinach in a cup? No one understands what you're doing. And I was like, fuck it, we'll do this ourselves. So it was when iTunes was quite new. So we did an ebook and it went to number 1 overnight on Amazon and iTunes. And then the publisher came back and said, oh, actually, we'll do this little book. And so it's a paperback called Super Green Smoothies. And that's what put green smoothies on the map in Australia. No one had ever heard of a green smoothie before we made this book.
It's insane.
Like literally no one had ever heard of it. That book still sells. It's been 10 years. It's in Polish. It's absolutely it's what launched our business, because from there we were like, well, if a green smoothie is incredible, how do we make it easier for you? Let's do a green powder. You don't have to buy all the stuff. You don't have to wait for it to go off and then feel bad. And green powders were unheard of, So we launched Super Greens, which was our OG product. And that's how we started.
Well, I read that you launched Swish in 2020,
Yeah.
2012, sorry. So that's 12 years ago.
12 years ago. But it took us, like the first 4, all we did was basically wellness content. We obviously worked on the smoothie book, and we had the smoothie book, and that's how we started. But we only launched Super Greens. It took us 2 years to formulate Super Greens because we were like, well, we want it to be like having a green smoothie. The same thing. If I send you out to get broccoli and kale and spinach and apple and like all these good things, I want to do that same thing. I don't want to just do. There were a couple of products on the market that were like spirulina only, and it's just like, well, that's a shortcut. You know, that's not cool. That's not giving you the benefit that you need. And our whole thing is no shortcuts. Like we do the hard work, you know. So it took us 2 years. So yeah, our product range has only been going 8 years. I say only.
Yeah.
Only 8 years, I guess, because time's gone quick. But yeah, but all up, yeah, we started in 2012.
I love hearing these stories and these journeys because it's coming from such a good place.
It comes, I think, it comes from true, because having a business is so tough, right? There's days where you're like, remind me again, someone remind me. But that's why you have, you know, like, I don't have to go far to remember why.
Your
I remember
message.
why. I absolutely remember why. It's like etched in my soul, and I'll never not do it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you with Green Smoothies,
Mm.
what was your inspiration for it? How did you come out of all your treatment and know that there was goodness in greens?
It's so funny because I remember asking the doctor, like, what kind of diet would I have? And they were like, oh, whatever, I don't care.
Oh my
whatever
God,
you
I'm
want.
dealing with this now with my mom. The oncologist said she really needs to put on weight.
Yes.
And they told her eat fast food and eat ice cream.
Do you
And
know?
I literally, my blood was boiling because sugar feeds cancer. And I know
Correct.
I'm not an oncologist
Yeah.
and I know I'm not a doctor, but I think, why don't you have a big scoop of peanut butter? Why don't you
So many
go
other
eat
things you can do.
avocado? But my mum is, she's knowledgeable on these things. So
Yes.
she's not going out and
No,
getting
yes.
McDonald's.
But if somebody wasn't, and this is the
Exactly.
thing, if somebody wasn't, then yeah. And it's like, and I get it, it's because the oncologist's job is to be concerned with, you know, the cancer treatment. But I've always said I don't know why hospitals don't have nutritionists and dietitians and naturopaths, like that whole 360 approach, you know, like, because that's the part that you need. I think the reason I knew was because I had done 2 years of a naturopathy degree. So prior to starting in television, I worked as a Pilates instructor and personal trainer, and I did 2 years of a naturopathy degree.
I'm looking at you, Sally, and I'm like, what doesn't she do? She does everything, like literally.
I wish I'd finished my degree. My degree was my backup plan if I didn't get into TV. And then I did get into TV. And
But it
I
doesn't
had,
matter. You still learn,
Oh,
you know?
those 2 years were incredible. And I think there must have obviously been something there that in the back of my mind, when I finished my cancer treatment, I was like, green, vegetables. And I was like, what's the quickest way I can get it? I can't eat it fast enough. And I was
And I'm
like,
sure
I'm
your
just gonna.
appetite as well after the treatment wasn't really feeling like,
It's not the same, you know? And I was like, I'm just going to do green smoothies multiple times a day. And it's funny because when I started doing green smoothies, because it was unheard of and there was nowhere to go, you couldn't look up, which I know this is wild. You couldn't look up a recipe for a green smoothie. I know.
so saturated
It's
now.
wild, right? So I always say, I feel so good. Like, when I say to you, I remember we went on Sunrise and we made green smoothies, and everyone was like, the fuck is that girl doing putting spinach in the drink? Like, it blew everyone's mind. You know, it's so normal now. But when we started, we didn't know stuff. Like, we would get English spinach and that's too bitter. And then we learned as I was making them, and as Maha and I were making the book, we're like, how do you it's all about that right combination, the good fat, like you were saying, the peanut butter or the almond butter, and how do you use like not too much fruit, but you're more on the vegetables, but you got a bit of fruit, and like that combo of flavors and tastes, you know? So yeah, it came, I think, probably from somewhere there. And I've done someone said to me the other day, oh, I don't like, one of my daughter's friends. He said to me, oh, I don't like green smoothies. And I was like, I guarantee you. I said, what flavor? What's your most favorite like taste? And he was like, oh, you know, cake and like chocolate, like, of course, right? And I'm like, we literally have a smoothie recipe called a piece of cake. I said, because it tastes like vanilla cake. And I was like, I bet you if you didn't know it was green, you would have it. And he was like, oh, I reckon I wouldn't. And I was
How
like,
old is this?
He's
Oh,
like 12, like
Cute.
a little, you know, like preteen, you know. And I made it for him, and he was like, this is delicious. And I'm like, I know.
That's great as well. You're doing it for that age group because that's when hormones are going crazy. You might start to
Correct.
getting acne and like
Totally.
having a good gut microbiome so important. So if you can make delicious green smoothies that actually taste good,
Tastes good. I always say make your wellness taste good. Right?
100%.
If when people go like, oh, I don't like healthy stuff, it tastes bad. I'm like, that's why they invented the condiment aisle. Go down the condiment aisle and use spices and flavors. Like make it taste good because at the end of the day, like this is the thing with super greens, why it took us so long. The first part was like, what do we want in it? And that part was somewhat easier. How do you make it taste good? Because humans at the end of the day, and we learnt this through the smoothie process, even if it's good for them, if it doesn't taste good, most people won't do it.
I am a big believer in that, and it's a big reason I created Self-Dom was to showcase that living a healthy life doesn't mean you're sacrificing taste, doesn't mean you're sacrificing money, doesn't mean you're sacrificing time.
No.
Living a healthy life will actually give you all of that.
Totally does. The difference that you feel, like it's just a buzz. It's a buzz.
100%. So you obviously started with your greens powder.
Yeah.
And then you got your sleep powder. So you've got your perfect powder for the morning, your perfect powder for the night.
Yeah.
Was sleep something in your treatment that you realized really helped you and you wanted to improve everyone else's sleep?
It was funny with sleep. So when we launched Super Greens, and it was the uptake, because they'd been on this journey with us of having smoothies. So it was the transition. They understood like, okay, now, in a way, if I don't have time to make a smoothie from scratch, I can have greens. And we were done. We were like, that's it. We're only going to do one product. We're like, okay, that's it, finale,
Yeah.
And then they were like, what else do you have? And we were like, oh, we don't have anything else. And it was the community that asked for sleep. They were like, we want something at the back end of the day. And so then we were like, oh, okay, so this is a thing, And I think it's funny. I struggled with my sleep during my sickness, of course, but I didn't really consider that if you weren't sick, sleep was something, and people were like, they couldn't switch off.
It's so
That
big.
inability to switch
it's an
off.
epidemic at the moment.
Huge. And so then it took us another 2 years to formulate sleep. I know we were a little slow in the beginning in our, very, very, and that's the thing. Like I see people now and they'll be like, they'll have this business plan with all these fonts and, we're going to do this, and we're going to exit in 5 years. And I'm like, God, in 4 years, we only had 2 products. Like we were very, I don't know. It was very heart-led, just what can we do to help? We took our time. But yeah, it's funny because the sleep powder, there's been this TikTok revival of the OG, the sleepy mocktail, right?
I love a sleepy mocktail.
Right. So the main ingredient in a sleepy mocktail is tart cherry, and that's the
I've got
ingredient
tart
in it.
juice.
So that's what we have in our sleep powder. So
You knew.
We knew.
You knew.
Years ago. We were like,
Because it's got the most melatonin.
correct, and it helps your body release its own melatonin. So you're not just taking a melatonin tablet, waking up groggy, and then screwing with your melatonin like release and cycles. Actually helps your body release its own melatonin. So we're like, dude, we had the OG sleepy mocktail way back when,
Do you know what makes me laugh with the cherry juice is when I came back from Europe, I was really jet lagged. And I've spoken on the podcast. I used to have years ago a really bad sleep pattern, so I would have red wine to fall asleep.
Yep.
And when I was really jet lagged, I would pour the tart cherry juice.
Oh,
it
yes.
literally tastes like a red wine.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, is this okay for me to be doing? But it literally tastes like alcohol.
Yeah.
It's so strong.
Yeah, it's strong.
And I was having a lot.
You at?
Because I was really jet lagged.
You were very jet lagged.
Yeah. I was double parked.
One and one.
Yeah, 1 and 1. But I definitely think the Sleeper Girl mocktail, there's been obviously a big shift, people not drinking as much as well.
Yeah.
And seeing how people can incorporate powders and actually make a
Totally.
really nutritious drink before bed.
It's amazing.
When your body's about to restore, just
Correct.
before bed, it's perfect.
It's so soothing. It's so soothing. And we were like, okay, let's do this. We used the tart cherry. We added in Siberian ginseng. We did a teeny bit of cacao as a neurotransmitter to help move it along. And it's just so beautiful. It's got this like kind of chai taste. And it's just so, we were like, this is the perfect like AM and PM combo. And this is the thing we kind of always say about wellness. Don't make it complicated. Just work out, and I think like fashion, Don't look at what everyone else is doing and go, I must do the same. Ask yourself, what is it that you need? Like some people don't have trouble sleeping. Great. You don't need that then.
I'm so jealous of those people.
Yeah, I know. Me too, because I can't. I have trouble with my brain winding down, the turn off.
Do you know what I think as well with the sleep powders and everything that comes with it? It's obviously the ingredients work and that's super important. But by drinking it, you're telling yourself, I'm preparing for rest. It's you just rewiring your brain.
Yes.
So of course you're getting the benefits of the ingredients, but you're also allowing yourself to have a nighttime routine.
It's so critical.
So important. I think the morning routine has had such a big moment in the industry, but your morning routine doesn't happen unless you have a good night routine.
So you need to starts the night before.
100%. I'm a different person if I don't have a good night's rest. It actually turns me off traveling because I get so scared of sleeping in another bed and the jet lag. Of course, I still travel and I love it, but sleep is so sacred to me now.
Yeah, and it should be. That's actually a good point. Like sleep being sacred and important is it's important. You need it. Your brain needs it. Your emotional health needs it. You know, it's
my
critical.
face needs it. Like when I have a bad night's rest, I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm haggard. But last night, Tom laughs at me every night because it will be about 7:45. I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed, and he's like. And I always wake up and last night he was in the other room.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you're out cold at 8 p.m. and I'm lying there not able to sleep.
You're early to bed.
But I wake up at 5.
Yeah, you're 5 a.m.
And the sun goes down.
Yes.
We've got like strip lighting in our house that's like warm tones.
Oh,
So I
nice.
feel like my melatonin's producing at 5 p.m.
Yeah, I
Like,
love that.
I just love going to bed early. But
that's great.
And then my problem is I'm so rigid with my routine that like if it gets to 9:30, 10, I get really stressed. So I'm like, this is a late night for me, you know?
I have to go, guys.
Yeah, I'm literally like, but I'm getting better with balance because I had almost taken it too far where I was so rigid with my routine. Now I've realized it's actually more important to go out and socialize.
Yes.
It was just City to Surf on the weekend.
Yeah, that was amazing.
But so you can see we've got this view of Bondi.
Yep.
It was heaving. It was so busy. And I didn't do anything. Like I was here with my face mask on, like, what's everyone doing? I walked to the nail bar in my cozies and I was like so recluse. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, Dom, after that weekend, I was like, you need to go out more, babe. You need to have fun. Like I had actually regret for not going out.
Isn't it funny? And which comes back to like balance, right? It's
100%.
like you need to have a little bit of everything. Like, you know, a little bit of like a late night here and there, like an early night here and there, like a bit.
It's like sleepy mocktails 80% of the time, real mocktails 20% of the time.
You betcha. And it makes, and each of them then makes the other really enjoyable, you know?
I agree. And I think from what I've obviously heard when you spoke, you've got a really good balance about you. You're a mum of 2.
Yeah.
You've got a business. What are your tips to find balance in your life?
I think don't try for balance. It really is actually what I do, because balance, I think, implies this huge pressure to make everything like it must be 50-50. Like work must be 50% and then your home life must be 50%. And it's like, that's just not possible, right? And so you're already in a way setting yourself up for failure. So I don't have that. Like I'm like, sometimes I have to work more, and if I'm working more, then I will be at home less. Sometimes I'm at home more and then I work less. And it's like your entire life just goes like this, right? And it just tips up and down, up and down. But it's also like I'm not trying to avoid my work. It's not the enemy here. And my family is not the enemy of work. These things are intermeshed together. And all of them are a part of me and all of them make me happy. So it's like, what do I need to do now and who needs me most where? You know, and I just am very relaxed about it. And I think also I remind myself, like everyone's like, how do you juggle all the balls? And I'm like, there's only a few glass balls, really. There's only a few. The rest, if you drop them, you can pick them back up. It doesn't matter, you know? So only focus on the ones that are like, the only ones you've got to keep in the air are the ones that will smash. Your relationships, you know, you don't want to damage them. Your health, you know, you really want to make sure you look after that. You know, the rest if they fall, you'll get them.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think we do put a lot of pressure
Much pressure.
You know, we don't need to.
Yeah,
It's
much
actually going to
pressure.
create cortisol and make you more unhealthy.
And it's so hard. Like, who can do like? Have you tried to stand a seesaw and keep it like this? Like, it's impossible, you know. And I think it's this, and there's so much pressure for women to have the balance. It's like, well, it's just like different seasons, different times, different weeks, different years.
Well, you glow.
Thank
like
you.
you truly do. Obviously, your products work. I want to talk about self-care because I think that's a little bit different to balance. I want to know, what are your favorite ways to indulge in self-care?
Yep. I love a massage. Gee, I just did that and my neck just went click.
Yeah. You're like, I need one now.
It's like, yes, I need one. I love a massage. I love an infrared sauna. I'm not brave enough for cold plunge. I really want to. I want to, but I'm not there yet. But I've just done the hyperbaric chamber. So I love these, like, I truly mostly in self-care, I like to be alone. Like that in terms of wellness self-care, like I do find I crave, I think because most of my life is with people, like at the office where with the team, or if I'm doing stuff that's public facing, I'm with other people or I'm with my family. Or like, so then it's like if I am trying to restore, and because I'm an extrovert naturally, I like being around people. So then if I need to kind of come back and someone will be like, do you want to go to like infrared together? I'll be like, oh, I can't go with you. I have to go by myself. You know?
See, I'm very similar to you. I have my certain things that I have to do alone.
Yeah.
Like my walks in the morning, I tend to do them alone because I find I recharge by being alone.
Yes.
But recently, have you heard of the word habit stacking?
Yeah, I love habit
So
stacking.
I love
it.
Yeah, so for me, it's like doing a sauna with someone is a great way to habit stack, or going for a walk with someone in the afternoon is a great way to habit stack. So I'm trying to find like my happy medium with it.
Yes, the stuff that you want to do by yourself and then the stuff that you can do with someone else that I love.
Like when you can do two birds, one stone, why not?
Totally. I love habit stacking. I do like walking with other people. There's something, I don't know if you've ever read this about the psychology of the thing with walking is you're moving forward, right? So when you're with somebody else and you're moving forward, you move forward together. So that's why apparently in relationships, like if your relationship's going through a tricky time or whatever, I read this psychological study where they were like, you should go walking together, because aside from being together and just talking or whatever, there's something in that as opposed to sitting, you're moving forward together.
True, I love that. It's like a metaphor.
It's like a metaphor, yeah. And something, you know, just I guess gets wired into your brain. And it's
funny because what comes to mind there is I have a little walk club group.
Yeah, I love it.
And a lot of them were saying how they're going on walking dates.
Oh, I love walking dates.
I actually don't think I would like a walking date.
Why?
Because you might walk from Bondi to Coogee and then not about the sweat. Oh, you got to walk back. You might not like the person and you've got to walk back.
You've got to stop at Tama and decide. You know
what I mean? But I do like the idea. The one thing I really like about the walking date, because in COVID it became a thing, was that you're not looking at them, you're looking ahead. So you're really listening rather than just judging their face or whatever else you might superficially.
I love that.
So I guess when you're having a fight with your partner as well, you're just listening. You're tuning into that rather than like sitting across from each other and your face annoys me right now. Do you know what I mean?
You're breathing too loudly.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like those little things that happen.
Totally. Oh, that's funny.
Well, I want to go back to business.
Yeah.
A lot of the self-dom community want to have a career in wellness.
Love it.
What would be 3 bits of advice you would give to someone new in business?
I would say start.
Oh, so big, right?
So just start. Like, and like I truly, you know, I said to you before, like we didn't have this business plan and you don't need, like, have a couple of key questions answered, you know, like know your numbers, obviously, like what does this thing cost and how will I sell it? And like have like those key elements worked out, but you will not have all the answers. 100%. And like what will happen in year 1 is different to year 2 and you won't have fathomed the questions. So don't worry, just start. And the other thing I would say is don't look too much left and right. People get so, you know, you look over there, you're like, so-and-so's doing this. Oh my God, but they're doing that. Fuck all of that off and just put your head down and go, what do I want to do? And then go. Because if you look left and right, you will crash. Like just do, like have some awareness, like driving, like yeah, sure. But if you look too far, it's not good. So start like basically focus on what you're doing. And then I would probably say we've only just started doing, keep a little notebook, or I love a spreadsheet, so I keep a spreadsheet of when stuff goes well, like good stuff, right? Because having a business there are many moments, right, where it's tough, like it is tough, right? But if you have these little things and you write them down, well, you'll go back to them and you'll be like, that's right, I forgot, because you will forget. You swear you won't forget, but you'll forget. And if you have them, and I have them now by year, right? So like, 2020, 2021, I'll be like, oh my God, that's right. That was my dream then. I forgot about that. That's actually good, and it keeps you going. So like remember the highs, but write them down because you'll forget them, and you'll need those highs to come back to when the road gets gritty, and it does, and there's speed bumps along the way. Don't worry, just keep going.
Such good advice.
Yeah.
I really, really love that. I actually have created my own gratitude journal.
So important.
And at the end of every day, the last question you ask yourself is, what am I proud of myself for? And it's such a good reminder because there's always at least one thing that you're proud of, whether it's
Yes.
big or small, and just making sure every day you remind yourself that you did something good.
The messages to yourself are so important. We always say this, like when we talk about, it's funny, a morning routine, we're saying that before, it's had such a big blow up, which is great. But the key in the morning routine, I think that no one mentions, is it's the message to yourself that I'm important. The reason you are doing your morning routine, whatever that may be for you, is you're trying to send a mental message that in amongst the day of you looking after everyone else, your job, your kids, your animals, your friends, your partner, there's also you, and you're important. That's what the end of the day.
It's prioritizing yourself, even if
Yeah.
it's for 2 minutes.
Yeah, totally. It's like me too,
Yeah. So you've recently you've been shooting, your second season of Housewives.
Yes,
How
yes.
exciting.
Yeah, it's really people really love the show, which is so nice. Like people love the
And you're a breath of fresh air too.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think you can only do a show like this if you are yourself. You have to be yourself. There's and everyone is. And I think, for viewers, people, not everyone will like you. That's life, and everybody has, I think, parts of them that they, resonate. They're like, oh, I'm a bit like this person in that way, or I'm a bit like that person in that way. So I always find it so fun when people stop me in the street like, oh my God, I love the show. And, they want to know stuff. So yeah, it's nice.
Have you found that going on the show has really increased the amount of people who stop you? Because you've been kind of a public figure for a while.
I think it's kind of the same for me because I guess I've been in the public eye for a long time, probably like 20 years. So we've done, 5 cookbooks. I did an autobiography. So I've obviously had a long time in the public eye. So it's normal. But where I think it's like younger people, like maybe like 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds who are coming, I guess, to know me now, not via TV, and they're coming in via Housewives. And so I think that's really sweet.
Which is great because you're a really positive role model.
Thank you.
It's a really great thing.
I really like that.
Well, I'm sure baby Sally would be so proud of where you are now.
Oh my God.
But I always ask the same question, which is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, 13-year-old Sally would be shocked at
What was 13-year-old Sally like?
13-year-old Sally was so I desperately wanted school to be over. I hated school. I got picked on a lot for being like olive skinned, and I tried to shrink into the wall and take up as little space as possible. I loved being at home because it was safe. That was like my safe space. I hated being at school. I desperately wanted to finish, and I wanted to be on TV, funnily enough. 13-year-old Sally wanted to be on TV. And I think she would be shocked, but I think I would say to her, you're a late bloomer in life. Don't worry. Like I do. I always feel like I'm like 10 years like behind what I'm like, I remember when I started in TV, I was like, this is perfect. I should be 10 years younger. When we started the business, I was like, this is great. I should be 10 years younger. So it's like, I think the thing I've learned to do is like not worry about the numbers, and it's like, it's just what are you doing and how do you feel? So I would say to her, don't worry that you're going to be a late bloomer in life. That's just how it is for you,
Yeah.
you know? And like, don't shrink into the wall for so long, you know, because that just took me a long time to find my own, I guess, to feel confident in my skin. And first, it wasn't even confident. First, it was just comfortable. You know, first I had to get comfortable in my skin in order to get confident in my skin. That took me such a long time. So I think I would like reach out my hand to her and be like, come on, babe, we can do this sooner.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you're amazing.
Thank
You
you.
truly, truly
So are you.
are.
Thank
I could
you.
chat to you all day.
Same.
If you don't follow Sally, make sure you do at Sally Obermeder. You are an icon,
Thank you.
and I love your products. And thank you so much for my little goodie
Oh my
bag.
God, I can't wait for you to see it.
You're the best. And make sure you tag us if you love the episode, and I will see you on the next one.